What's going on?
Who are we?
Who are you guys?
Who are we?
Oh my God, I haven't seen you in years.
Oh, God, Jesus.
Oh, there it is. What is up, everybody? Welcome to the DM Air Nuggets podcast.
Let's go.
Oh my God, it feels so good to be back.
What a hearty pent-up air horn that was.
It's like a pinched microphone effect.
Yeah. We're in Studio B today because we're wearing shorts and Eric doesn't like to look at our legs.
No, it's not that I don't like to. It's that the audience at large doesn't, and they won't tell you to your face, but they'll tell me. Every
time we're here, you can just assume our legs are just shining in the light.
Yeah, that's the point. The Studio B is for Studio Bare Legs.
Not to take too much away from the imagination, I'm wearing sandals as well.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Toes just everywhere. It's unbelievable.
Actually, maybe you should show, because I'm sure the picture in their head is much worse than the reality.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Whatever.
Well, exciting news. Vogt and I are back. That's pretty exciting, right?
We'll let the people not so close to the situation decide.
Well, you guys in the chat decide whether or not that's cool, not cool, unclear at the moment. Chat really popping today, by the way. We got one. We got one going on here. I assume we are live, I think. We have a very good show for you guys today. Because Vogt and I have not been here to share our takes. I don't know if you feel this way while you're on vacation. Some story pops up and you're like, I want to chime in.
Sometimes, yeah.
And then, I hear the guys talking about it. Very good job. By the way, shouts to Harrison hosting the shows last week. A different guest did a fantastic job, basically soloing that throughout the week. So shouts to him. But there were things that I was like, I want to chime in. I want to give a take. So we're going to do some of that.
That's what it is to listen to the podcast. Like people, what people tell us. They're like, they're like, and they can't talk to us.
Yeah.
Because we can't be reached, dude.
We can't be reached, man. We're also going to talk. I had a very interesting question. There's a reason for the prompt. We'll get the reason later. But what is Jokic's signature playoff series? Does he have one? Does Jamal Murray? I think the answer is yes. Do the Denver Nuggets as a team? And then later on, who better? This crew. Sometimes you think about the configurations. What should you be doing? Updated Hotbox and Hot Takes.
It's a good crew for that.
Is that a good crew? This is a good crew for the brightest time.
Bro, this is the Keith clan right here. For the hot box.
A little more implied, I think.
Let's introduce the Keith clan.
Make sure you include Keith. Don't just call us the clan, please.
I was going to say, if there was one clansman that I would say is the most clansman of the group.
The Keithsman.
No, clansman.
I've been back for 4 minutes.
It's D-Line.
Let's go. Guys, I feel almost complete, dude. Voltron has been put back together. He's just missing his arms.
Now Wynn's on vacation.
Well, I'm saying, we at least have the torso, one of the legs. You can at least imagine what it looks like.
And then over there, in sandals, sipping on a coffee, it's Brendan Vogt.
Oh, my God.
Long break, and I just want to say I'm really glad that we could come to terms on this 5-year, $304 million extension. I'm happy to be here with you guys.
I can't believe that news broke on the day you came back.
Why don't we start there? Jaylen Brown.
I have to say quickly, there are some things that have happened over the last year that I feel like that tells us that God favors us in some ways. The Jaylen Brown news drops the day Vogt comes back. This is please, by all means.
Well, it's great because I kind of think they had to do it. and listen, I think they had to do it, and I don't think anyone feels that great about it. It's a lot of money for a guy that is probably a second best player on a team that hasn't won a title yet.
Yeah.
Can't dribble with his left hand, It's a lot of money. All jokes aside, I do think there is a sort of raw shock value thing to this that we all just have to get used to.
Yeah,
happens every time.
A series of the new highest player of all time, and some of these guys, highest paid player of all time. Some of these guys will not be the best players of all time, and so you're just going to see these numbers going up. So there's some raw shock value to it, but I also just love to see the Celtics kind of stuck in a tough place with the timeline and no rings to show for it so far.
Yeah. It is hilarious, too, that it's Jaylen Brown. For some reason, it's just if it was Tatum, we would have our own laugh or chuckle or whatever, but it's like, all right, that's the guy. But it's Jaylen Brown. It's the other guy. And the fact that, it's the highest paid of all time. I will say this. The more we get into this, the Supermax really doesn't make sense, man. Because you know how we have the max contract and we're like, how is LeBron and Jaylen Brown somehow the same category, right? There's only like a handful of players that really are quote unquote max guys. Jokic, of course, one of them. But then there's the super max now, which like somehow includes Bradley Beal and like all of these secondary players where you're like, if you have a Jokic or a Giannis, the Supermax is great because you feel like, hey, we get to keep our cornerstone guys. But it also forces you to keep your guys that you're like, it's the guy we're stuck with, not the guy we want. And Jaylen Brown's kind of that.
I know. This is like a little bit what Austin Rivers was alluding to when he was talking about the new deal that they signed. It's so top heavy. The guys that are like the big players on the team get so insanely overpaid. I cannot believe Jaylen Brown is the current highest paid player in the NBA.
Right.
Think about that.
Of all time, you mean?
Yeah. Of all time.
Of all time.
Of all time. You're right, though. I mean, it is.
Isn't it like $70 million potentially 1 year? The $69 million.
I do think that something like the summer before that year, he should work on the left.
I know. Right? Well, what does he care?
I mean, right? He's like, money's already in the account.
So true, man. That's so true. It's absolutely insane. And it's also, you look at the Denver situation now, and there are so many beautiful things about winning a title, but one of them is the lack of stress and hand-wringing over some of the inevitabilities of how this stuff plays out, right? Jamal Murray is going to get a lot of money. He's already made a lot of money. He'll make more money again. He's due to make a lot of money. And with a title, being on the other side of a title, you just don't sweat that. You just don't fret that. It just doesn't matter. He was good enough. Yeah. And even if they never get it done again, the argument is black and white, right? It's there. And the Celtics, for all the success that they've had with these two guys together, they have not turned that final corner. And on one hand, well, you got to pay your guys. He's their second best player. You pay him. It's easy. On the other, $304 million to a second best player, and you haven't won yet. That's not actually an easy pill to swallow. So, winning changes everything. And this is just another example for Denver, of how this timeline could look different without that title.
Totally. I will say the other aspect of this with Jaylen is that there are great players a la Karl Anthony Towns who aren't necessarily like easy to root for if it's your favorite guy. And for me, I don't know if you guys feel this way, but Jaylen Brown is pretty far on that extreme for me as well, where I also just wouldn't be that excited to be like, that's our guy. Like, this is the one we have to pull for. He's a little bit in that category for me, where I don't believe in his talent at that level. I do think he's a great player, by the way. Sometimes we undervalue these guys. It's not his fault. Always, he qualifies for the Supermax, and they had to give it to him, right? But there's that aspect of the player. Like, is he a guy that you just feel like, oh, I know I'm going to win with this guy, or I really believe I'm going to win? But then there's the second layer of like, just do I like this guy? He seems to hate Boston. He passes up a chance to like shit on his own fan base and city, and just generally seems to be a prickly guy who doesn't seem to like a lot of things. So I think there's that aspect of it too. We're so lucky that we have Jokic, the supreme guy that's like funnest guy to root for. We felt like we believed from the early days that we can get a championship, and we were rewarded. And then even Jamal, man, like even Jamal, who can qualify this year for a Supermax, who is a little bit to me in the Jaylen Brown category, where he's not a guy quite yet, where I'm like, that can be a number one on a title team. But you know what? Fun as hell to root for.
It's true. And we actually don't know what, like, maybe they have found their big three. Maybe Kristaps Porzingis actually, helps them to get to the next level. I don't know. I mean,
either way, that sucks, though.
It does suck, but it's tough for them because they had these two guys they brought together when they were super young and inexpensive. Yeah. And they've gotten to the point where it's like, oh, wow, they're the best team in the East, which is a very, not a very, impressive thing to say, but like, what do you do? I mean,
they definitely expected to have one by now, too.
Yeah, this is what it is to look down.
I think they had two, and they counted like 4 years ago. It's like, well, Celtics will probably win 2 of the next 4.
Yeah, but this is what it is to look down on the league from our vantage point. True. Like, look at what all of these little people do. Look at these decisions they make. So like, funny. How funny.
It is great. So here's another take from the other day that I really enjoyed but wanted to discuss with you guys. Harrison Wind to Andy Bailey, given hot takes, and they predicted, or Andy, I should say, predicted, that Jokic will average fewer than 20 points per game. Now, admittedly, these were supposed to be hot takes, so he was supposed to be a little aggressive. Right. But I saw it, as I heard that, I was kind of like, man, that's crazy. And then I thought about it, and I landed on, I do think that's still crazy. I think that Jokic we do this every year.
This is the Miroslav.
But his reasoning was he thinks it's going to be like a 19.9, 11 point rebounds, 11 assists. Like it won't even be close to the triple double. Will be secured by January.
I see. But so he's just going to basically not try to score.
Yeah, he's not gonna. Yeah, he's gonna like take it to an extreme.
But this is the thing. We keep hearing like, well, obviously he has his guys to defer to, so he'll clearly be the top scorer in the finals on the team. Like it just doesn't have. It is.
But that's the playoffs. Like that's almost different from regular season to playoffs.
I can't see it.
Me neither.
I try to see. We keep every year. We're like, oh, I bet it'll be different. It is different. He's better. He scores more. Like. Last year, what was the dip between the year
2
prior?
2 points, I think, 2.5 or something like that.
Like, how different is it going to look this next year? You think it's going to another dip?
He would have to make a concerted effort.
Yeah, he'd have to like pout, like he'd have to be like really just missing Sombor, which is entirely possible. Just not feel like shooting.
And scoring's just gotten that easy for him too, that he just doesn't have to.
Yeah,
he doesn't have to say I'm going to lead the team in scoring to do it by accident, you know. And we, you know, I've talked about this point ad nauseum, but one of the big lessons of the MVP years for him was that sometimes the right play is just they didn't send help and this guy can't guard me.
I'll shoot it.
Yeah, I'll shoot it. So I don't really think there's any way that happens, actually.
He scored 19 or fewer 22 times last year, so it does happen. But the thing is, that's 19 or fewer. You know, for every one of those, he did have single digit. How many times would you guess he had single digits last year?
1?
Vote?
0?
3.
No.
He had 3 games with single figures.
Was it 9 points?
One was in April, like really at end of the year. Only played 26 minutes, so it was kind of that. But he also, against Portland, in a 25-point loss, had 9 points, 9 rebounds, 9 assists, just shot 3 of 4. But that was a blowout loss.
I love that it was 9, 9, and 9.
Yeah.
It's like the most signature. Whatever.
And then against Chicago in a 23-point win, he had 8 points, 6 rebounds, 14 assists in a 23-point win.
Oh, my God. Remember when Chicago beat us and the entire company clowned us? And then we won the championship. I hope you're all watching now.
That was their championship. Both the Suns and the Bulls' championship was us losing to the Bulls.
Oh, so sweet.
I want to get a couple more of these in. Who are we rooting for in the World Cup now? I don't want to rehash the thing because we've already talked about it on the various shows, but I was sitting here thinking.
I love that the answer is not the U.S.
Well, maybe it is. Maybe it is.
This team is kind of fun, this U.S. team. It's a little different.
Yeah, they're not as hateable as usual.
I mean, like, if we're playing into the argument, all we've been hearing about national pride is actually important, which is what the Serbians are telling us, shouldn't by all rights we just go for the U.S.?
Yes, but consider this. What if Jamal Murray plays for Team Canada?
He is.
Going to.
No, I know. Well, I know that but I'm saying actually plays.
Oh, like he's the guy.
Yeah. Suits up and play. Are we behind a Jamal Murray Team Canada run?
I feel like we are. The fact that we don't care about international competition says that we have dominated for so long that it doesn't mean anything to us.
But also that the U.S. is so broad that it's like not this.
But I think that if we started taking L's over and over and over, we would get to the point where we're like, are we the best? Do we care? Like
totally.
That's how I felt in 2006 and 7, 8, and 8.
So I'm hoping that we get to the point where it actually does mean something because we're like, come on, man, we need this. Yeah. We need this. But I guess we're probably not there yet. It's probably Canada.
So I'm going to nominate 3 different teams here because as I've been thinking about it, I think Team Canada is number 1. Like is probably number 1, just in that it's Jamal. Like we're rooting for our guys first and foremost.
And it's America's hat.
And it's America's hat for sure. It's America's hairdo.
Totally,
but also they're just kind of an interesting team, you know, with Shea, they got Nick Nurse. Like I'm kind of curious. But part of me also wants to see if Jamal becomes the guy on that team.
I know.
Because I kind of feel like you look at it and you go, Shea has the better regular season, you know, like he was averaging all those points and he's a breakout and he's younger and like this or that, all-star. And then you look at Jamal and you're like, yeah, but man, if you told me you needed somebody to win the game for you, I'm taking Jamal. And by the way, Shea was like Mr. Clutch last year.
I know. I also
still taking Jamal.
I also think, and I know that at this point it's peers and not just kids that they'd be playing with in Team Canada, but I would expect that Murray now actually probably has more respect from his peers in that regard. Even for as SGA is like an unbelievable regular season talent, and the jury is still out way too early about what he could or couldn't do in the postseason. But there's almost like a little Kobe thing with Jamal now of like forget forget the numbers and stuff. The finals happened, and he was unbelievable.
The Maple Mama, dude.
He was that guy, and alongside Jokic, of course. And I do think that getting it done in a 16-4 run like that, I do think means more than anything SGA has accomplished.
Yeah, dude.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, in the eyes of his peers, in the terms of the respect.
Oh, you think on day one we walk in, people are like, "Hey, Jamal, what should we do?"
Yes, I'm saying if I'm the 8th guy on Team Canada and there's a final shot, I'm like, well, we're giving it to Jamal, right?
Yes. Dude, the thing about SGA is that he's very good. He is able to put the ball through the net very effortlessly, but he's not a flamethrower, man. Like Jamal's gets you hyped. Jamal's like screams at the crowd. Like SGA is just like has the most like it just automatic shot from mid range. It just goes in every time.
It's like the sketch about Prince being good at basketball. You remember, and how he's like calmly, he's like game. Blouse.
Yeah.
That's kind of how Shea plays.
He
does.
Very
slow, methodical,
and then he's like in,
and then he makes it and just like looks like he's not trying.
I feel like he tells you which hand he's going to. Left.
Whereas Jamal is like screaming and just like ferocious.
Oh my God, I'm so glad.
I think it's Team Canada. I'll give you another one, Slovenia. We do have our guy Chanchar, man.
Oh, Luka and Chanchar.
Straight to Luka.
Well, of course. I mean, he's the headliner. Like you went straight to SGA. I mean,
Slovenia. Well, Slovenia with Chanchar. Like, look, international Chalky is a real thing.
Yeah. Dude.
Also,
FIBA Chalky.
Rotation Chalky might be a real thing this year. So
they told me that we were over there. The Chalky. We're saying Chalky too hard.
I'm sure we are.
Chucky.
It's just written differently.
Yeah. I'm with it. So they are up there, and I'm telling you, I'm so prepared to be all in on Vlaco. Like after like two pools. It's like,
are you
why
kidding?
is this guy not playing? He just had 24 points.
This is going to be the foundation of every argument that we level against Michael Malone and his goddamn
I can't wait to
roster
hate Malone.
decisions.
What are you doing, Malone?
I know, dude. This guy, fire Malone.
Fire Malone
already.
We do have Australia with Jack White. It wasn't on my list, but
he's not even a Nugget anymore.
But I was going to say the last one here, guys. We're selling him a little short.
Get out of here.
Selling him a little short. Serbia still has some of our old pals, man. They still have Yaramaz.
I know, dude. Yaramaz.
They've got Jovic now. They've got Poku. They've got all of our fans.
Here's the problem. Now, we know why it happened, but they just lost in the quarters with Jokic.
Oh, so you think it'd be weird if they won without him?
We can't have a Jokic-Ewing theory
this is
for
the thing.
Team Serbia.
Well, yes, you're right. Actually, if they won without Jokic, actually, whatever. I want Serbia to love Jokic, and I don't know. I don't want to touch the Serbia thing. I just think we're here to silently support, but I don't.
All right, silently supporting, but we might be moving our weight behind Jamal this time around, just since he's playing. Let's take a break. On the other side, I do want to talk about a couple other things here, including Bruce's comments about the Wolves being the toughest series and the Lakers series. I know you guys talked about it while I was gone, but Vogt and I get to chime in on it. And then, I don't know if you guys have been checking out Philly Twitter lately.
Phil Twid?
There has been a real turn on Joel Embiid in an interesting way. Very specifically interesting way.
Yes, there has been. Yes.
I don't know if you guys saw the look of panic on my face for a second. I just remembered who does the reads when Harrison's not here.
Hell yeah, dude.
Shady Rays is dope. Take on the sun with gear built to last. We all love sunglasses. We all looking good in sunglasses. We hate losing them. We hate breaking them. We hate paying too much for them. That's why I get mine from Shady Rays, because when you shop with them, there's no risk. You can exchange a new pair or return them for free within 30 days. And then let them know if you lose them or break them too. They'll help you out. I went to Disneyland at one point in the last 2 weeks, fellas. And at one point in the last 2 weeks, I mean twice. And I lost my Shady Rays immediately on the Accredicoaster. And that's no problem. I'm going to reach out to them. I'm going to get another pair. Shady Rays Independence Day sale is... Oh, it's not live yet, so ignore that. Just listen to this. Go to ShadyRays.com and use code DNVR for 50% off 2+ pairs of polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself. The shades rated 5 stars by over 250,000 people. Yeah. Here we go, guys. This is my favorite part.
So good. So good.
I scroll and look for the read.
What's the company?
It's BetterHelp. And I found it.
You know, there's not much there for you to read. It tells us to use our own stories.
Have you done this read already?
I did it yesterday.
Do you want to do it today?
It was the one that was 9 minutes.
It was a 9-minute read. Go for it,
It's
Eric.
yours again.
Well, so listen, BetterHelp is designed to help people with their mentals. You got to worry about your mentals, your chicken, and your whatever else Marshawn Lynch told you to pay attention to. But really,
that's a reference I didn't get.
Marshawn Lynch?
Well, I got Marshawn Lynch. I didn't get the
your
part
mentals, your chicken, your whatever.
Really?
But truthfully, like, it is a difficult proposition to start the journey back to mental health if you find yourself lost, and it's a conversation people don't want to have, and you don't really know how to start it. Like, this is nice. This is a service that you can just use in the comfort of your home. You can just talk to medical professionals, therapists. That, it's not weird. There's no stigma. It's just therapy allows you to talk about your life in terms that are larger than your life. It allows people to give you perspective on things and sort of allow you to see why you might be feeling a certain way about something. It's just healthy to express emotion verbally, especially if you're having problems. So,
and I'll just add also, even if you're not having problems, sometimes it's just like you want to change careers, or you have need relationship advice or something. Like you're at a big crossroads and you just need somebody.
You can't get a hold of Ariana.
Exactly. So you always have that at your disposal. That's why BetterHelp is cool. I mean, they bring the internet, the usefulness of the internet now, and connect people with professionals who can walk you through those things. And what I like about them as well is, you don't just like get, you're always afraid. You get thrown with one. You're like, I don't really vibe with this person or whatever. You can switch. You can say, you know what, this isn't the right one. They'll try to figure out and match you with a perfect person to to get with you. So here it is. BetterHelp. Let me give you the number here. BetterHelp, HELP.com/DNVR. You get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp.com/DNVR. Get 10% off. All right, guys. First, let's talk about Bruce Brown's comments. He went on with Theo Pinson, by the way.
Yeah.
Great job. Theo Pinson, great at this.
I have noted, like, Theo Pinson is somebody I've had my eye on for years because he had such incredible sideline celebrations with the Brooklyn Nets. He was the one that was doing the leg back and forth, that gif when D'Angelo Russell was on the team. There was just something, he was like watching something and like somebody dunked really hard on one of his teammates. He was like, oh God damn. It was really funny to me. So I was delighted to find out that he has a wonderful personality as well.
Yeah. But there's two things I want to talk about here. Well, number one, he did have a line in there when they were talking about accolades of who played well, and Bruce interjected to say, don't forget about Mike. And I love this one because your anecdote about those two kind of arguing with each other, we talked about maybe some friction past this or that. I kind of liked Vogt that he went out of his way to be like, hey man, Michael Porter too.
That was a big thing to me that emerged throughout the playoffs, that I really thought Bruce had Mike's back in a outward way that he didn't necessarily feel inclined to explain to us explicitly, and I probably could have done a better job of finding the question, but I think it was just more of something he was always going to do, that he's tough on Mike, and you'll see him on the court yelling at him. But I think that's just kind of how Bruce is. I think Bruce knows Mike can take it, and he expects a lot of him. The D'Angelo Russell comments were really pointed. I know it's a different series. In my mind, I feel pretty confident they go back to D'Angelo Russell's comments on JJ Redick's podcast, in which he called out Michael Porter Jr. as a guy who was an untenable defender, and more specifically, the guy who D'Lo never wanted to be in a playoff series.
I forgot how many dubs we got.
The layers of irony in this is unbelievable.
I can't believe I'm telling you, God favors us. Like I'm telling, like,
and then you're gonna talk us into it. I'm with you, but and then Bruce goes on to call Russell not a great defender in that series. So I just throughout the postseason, I thought there were all these kind of, it gets a little bristly at times, but I think that was Bruce's own way of it's almost like an older brother, little brother thing. And I think he had Mike's back the whole way.
But also he's got nothing but wonderful memories now. You know what I mean? Like he's not in the middle of it now, so he can be like, all those guys, Mike, Jamal, and like we just did something. It's amazing.
I do like. He also said the Timberwolves was the toughest series. He did also say we should have had 3 sweeps. I'm telling you, when we talk about all the things like, well, who's going to replace Bruce here, and can Christian handle some of this? I'm telling you, man, I know. All that stuff matters. But the thing that matters is the guy who hops on a microphone is like, yeah, we went 16-4, but to be honest, should have gone 16-1. Like I just love the guy that's like, we should have had 3 sweeps, not 1.
Yes,
that level of like, oh, I just love it, man.
Yes, I find the people that are most hand-wringy about Bruce Brown not being part of the team moving forward are the people that like didn't watch during the season, only watched during the playoffs, and they were like, this guy is the most important part of the Denver Nuggets bench because he comes in and brings energy, he closes games, and I agree, he was incredible. Like I don't think you can quite replace what Bruce Brown did, but Like, the Nuggets are really goddamn good. The Nuggets are really goddamn good. They are an excellent basketball team.
Yeah.
Like, their starting five is, I don't care who anybody in the Valley or otherwise added to their team. Like, the cohesion and the way that those pieces fit together is something that you cannot craft.
Yeah.
About the comment itself, though, have you guys thought about that at all? The Wolves' place as the toughest series?
Here's my thought on it. I think it was only the toughest series because the Nuggets weren't quite battle tested yet. They were coming out of their slump, and I do think if you reverse the order and for some reason they met Minnesota in the third round, it probably would have been cleaner.
Yeah.
I agree with that. I also think Minnesota, for whatever the talent deficit was constructed in a way that was going to ask some early questions of Denver. They were always going to pass them, right? But the two bigs thing and then the Walker thing, they just had some questions they could ask of Denver right away. That I always expected Denver to get past, but I think, I don't know. Sometimes I think it was still the Suns. I know Booker touched God for them to get to, but to me, that was scarier than anything Anthony Edwards did.
Well, this is why Bruce is so great. It's because he specifically mentions the Suns and the Lakers is almost dismissively, and there's probably a little truth to it, but also a little oh, come on.
I think that a lot of the Sun stuff has to do with the construction of the company that you work in. Also,
the pressure I was feeling personally.
Yeah,
that's a good point.
Yeah. We were way more aware of the inner workings of the Suns and what it would mean to our personal. We would have had to call BetterHelp, frankly. Had they lost to the Suns, and, so it felt bigger and scarier. But when they broke the Suns, they broke them into 50,000. They destroyed them. Once they were broken, they were broken.
They were unbothered though.
Yeah.
Yeah,
for sure.
They were unbothered, but they also did make a crazy trade. And then lastly, on the Nuggets series or Lakers series, him saying it was personal. Obviously, that went viral last week, but I kept thinking everybody thinks they know why it was so personal. Bruce saying I couldn't figure it out. I don't know, for them it was so personal, and it made me think you would first go to, okay, well, media kept picking the Lakers, right? So maybe that was it. But Bruce was part of that, and Bruce would have understood that. He would have said it was personal for me too because they kept picking him. But instead he said I can't figure out, for them almost, right? That was the way he said it, almost as they were taking it so personal, and I just had to get in with that.
Yeah.
So then I kept thinking, could it be 2020? Could it really be lingering? Some people were like, oh, if you know the history of the Nuggets. I don't think Jamal Murray's sitting here thinking about 1986.
No.
You know what I mean?
So they beat him in the bubble, basically.
LeBron not picking Jokic. I've always said I think that was LeBron in some ways trying to humiliate Jokic and send a message of he's not our MVP. Because at that time, Jokic was leading the MVP. So I don't know. Do you have a theory for why this was so personal?
I do.
What?
Tristan Thompson was on the team and spent all year trashing the Nuggets, saying that.
But Bruce should have been known that.
But I mean, there were personal things that happened, from that squad, that were dismissive of the Nuggets, and it also the bubble thing is not that far in the rearview mirror.
Jamal's last series.
Yes, so I believe that for Jokic and Jamal, that provides the personal. I don't think it was personal necessarily for Bruce, but I think that you can sense when people care a lot more.
Right.
And he's this is this is where I
play no games.
I stumbled into a family dispute here. I got to step up for my brothers.
And maybe we've stumbled into one of the rare shared dynamics between a fan base, a city, and a team. Yeah. Maybe enough years in Denver and the core. The whole take that L on the way out, just general vibe soaked in, man.
Yo, I think you're right.
Maybe they fucking hate the Lakers.
Malone hated them very early.
He
didn't
not
know
because
connection.
of who's in the jersey.
Yeah.
They hate the jersey.
Yeah.
There is something about when somebody
it.
shows up on the Red Sox and they're like, I hate the Yankees. And then they get traded to the Yankees and they're like, the Red Sox.
Yeah.
But I think there's another layer, because I think you were probably mostly right, that because you felt this personally, where you're I didn't see it from the outside, but now that I'm here, I get the resentment.
This is ridiculous.
Yes. But I actually think there's another angle to this. Jokic is unlike other superstars.
In that he's better.
But also, people always... One of the best things about Jokic is it's so confusing and ambiguous. How much does he actually care about this stuff? It's just a job, this, that, but then we know he cares. I honestly think there's a little layer to Jokic, because he was talking about Jokic specifically in that clip about Jokic was talking, this or that. And I kept thinking, Jokic never plays the part of the guy who wants to kill the top dog, but I actually think it's really in him. He just only expresses it through on-court play and through no other way. And I think that was one where he looked around and coming in, it was like, oh, best defensive center versus best offensive center. LeBron, the king, versus me, the Joker. I just think internally, he never said anything to his teammates. He never let it out. He never did anything. But internally, he was like, I have to kill the top dog.
I think there's only one big that's ever really... Maybe this is too strong. Jokic took it personally. That Jokic was ever bothered by. I don't think Jokic was ever bothered by Joel Embiid. I think when Jokic tried to play his game the right way against AD the first few times early in his career and it didn't work, I don't think he liked that. And not in necessarily this one-on-one, mano-a-mano, as that's misused kind of way, but as Vlatko has explained to us over the years, that he hates when his team loses because he wasn't good enough. And he talked about how that one of those losses to AD inspired the lifting after every game thing and really a lot of the changes we've seen in Jokic since. I don't think he would ever state this explicitly, but I think Jokic maybe wanted to get the better of AD in a way that was not really there with Nurkic, Towns, Embiid, any of these guys, but actually was with AD. And so maybe beating the Lakers and Davis and dominating meant more to him than we gave credit for.
I think it did. All right, let's take another break. On the other side, Philly fans turning on Embiid in an interesting way that leads us to wonder, what is Jokic's signature series? How do those things connect? Let's do that on the other side.
It's real hot out these days, and everyone loves the summer. The vibes are good, but, comfort can be difficult, and sometimes you're feeling dehydrated. Sometimes you just need just a little wellness check-in. You got to check out IV Nutrition of Wash Park. Say hey to our friends. Let them know DNVR sent you. Talk a little nuggets if you want. That's the best kind of small talk, in my humble opinion. Services offered there include wellness blood testing and consultations, intramuscular injections with vitamin formulas, express lunch break drip, hydration drips, mega multi, like a Myers cocktail, headache haven, balance brain, and more. Stop by their Washington Park location on the corner of Alameda and Downing. Anyone who mentions DNVR when they come in will receive 50% off their first IV nutritional drip. Call 720-259-4404 for more. And another great thing to do in the hot heat of summer is stop by any Illegal Pete's location.
Oh man, Jake was eating an Illegal Pete's burrito today.
Oh,
I almost took a bite when he got up and turned his back. I almost took a giant bite.
You should have done it, dude. You have to exert dominance on guys like that.
In my travels, I was forced to settle for an unnamed, approximate kind of burrito.
You seemed off when you showed up.
You know what I mean? That's what
I thought it was just like lifestyle choices, but now it makes sense.
No, it's that I didn't get my patio vibes in. So check out Illegal Pete's. Order your burrito, order a marg, whatever you get there. Do it on a patio and do it with buddies.
Oh, man, there you go. All right, guys. I've been consuming some Philly content lately.
I've been consuming some Philly cheesesteaks.
Oh, well, there you go. It's kind of the same. Real quick, everybody saw this, another thing that went viral that we missed, but Joel Embiid in an interview with Maverick Carter, first of all, one light goes out, or one little earbrow perks up.
For sure.
In an interview with Maverick Carter, he says, I just want to win a championship, whatever it takes. I don't know where that's going to be, whether it's Philly or anywhere else. I just want to have a chance to accomplish that. First of all, Embiid's like, this would happen to Jokic, by the way, if he didn't win this year. Like at some point, everything turns, and it would have been the same for Jokic if they didn't win this year. Things honestly would have turned. I really believe that, but that didn't happen. Instead, they went 16-4, 10-1 down the stretch. He dominated. He was unbelievable. But Embiid now dropping these lines is not surprising. He's dropped little there's a type of player that drops these and a type of player that doesn't. He's the type that does, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we've always known that. He does. But then you start, checking out some Philly people. What do they have to say about all of this? Maybe you go over to
I bet they're huge fans.
Philly Twitter.
We love the freedom that he is feeling. Like he can win a championship here or anywhere. We love that for him.
Here's a comment on the wildly popular and entertaining Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast that most people know, big Philly podcast. Somebody comments and says, I always thought Joel was a funny guy, but he's becoming less ha-ha funny and more Dwight Howard funny.
Yeah.
That to me was the most damning thing I've ever read, because that is a thing. Like the guy that was fun and lovable, Dwight. Oh, he's so lovable. To like, is he just goofy now? Is he actually not funny and just kind of a little bit goofy and annoying? And I got to say, man, I think it's too harsh. Philly's going too far the other direction.
That's, by the way, Philly doesn't take much. You go from hero to zero real quick.
But my God, is that a painful blow?
It is.
Dwight Howard?
That's tough. That's a tough one. It is tough.
Great line.
There's nothing worse. There is nothing. I personally, for me, like, there's nothing worse than like somebody whose entire humor is built into like a costume.
Yeah,
Hey, look, I'm for Halloween. You're like, okay, calm down.
Right. Or fart jokes, right? He's the guy that like his teammates hate because he's always farting.
I'm
like,
30.
Bad stuff.
Like now the locker room just smells, dude. Like that's the thing with Dwight. They're not funny. They're just gross.
The other thing too is because didn't he? I feel like I think you might have missed this. I apologize if I missed you not missing it. But I think he said, "Oh, I was just trolling." He went online and he was like, "Oh,
of course,
I was just trolling," which is, I think Matt pointed out, it's like the new "I was just hacked." You know,
just Josh.
I was just trolling. Like, of course.
Something that was like very on point with my life. That's clearly what I'm thinking about. A joke, troll.
But this is what happens in Philly. It falls apart. The well gets poisoned. And it does. Both sides now will continue to take shots at each other until this is an irreparable relationship, or they win a ring. But I have my bets on which one happens.
All right, now here's an even more or equally as devastating clip, courtesy of the host of Rights to Ricky Sanchez, Spike Eskin.
My message to Joel Embiid is this. Yes, the team in a lot of ways has failed you in surrounding you with a team that can win a championship. But what is also true is that in your entire career, you have not been healthy during one playoff run. You do not have one playoff series you could say that is Joel Embiid's signature playoff series. And for all of the shit that we talk about other players, Jokic specifically, being defined by advanced stats, our big bragging point for you in the playoffs is the plus minus when you're on the floor and off the floor, which is total loser bullshit on our end. I understand that you are unhappy, but the truth is that you are as big a reason that the Sixers have not advanced past the second round as anybody else. My message to Joel Embiid is this. Yes, the team in a lot of ways has failed.
I think he is so his delivery and all this stuff. He's very creative, and also like in a weird way, he trolls. And Nuggets fans,
I was just trolling.
Well, no, but he really does like enjoy just like making other fan bases pissed off, and like obviously Denver has been like the target. But I will say this: that is a very honest take. That is a very honest take, and I love it. First of all, the advanced stats part, like our best thing we can point to with Embiid right now is the on-off differential in the playoffs, which is like, which I love, which is definitely a fair thing, but also like loser, as he calls it, loser bullshit. But the thing that really caught my attention was, does not have a single series you could point to and say that was his signature series. And you want to know something? He's right. He's right about that one.
The one thing that I took most from that clip though is that he can't stay healthy. That's why. Like, he's not healthy at the end because he's decided that the best way for him to play is to fall down every single time down the basketball court, and he gets hurt every year. So he's like not himself when it comes to the playoffs. He can't have a signature series because his entire game is predicated on beasting people. And then
the low light reel of this year of him falling. Did you see that?
It was so
it's long,
shameful.
It's like you have to have Twitter Blue to post all the falls.
Like he's got to get that out of his. He's got to get that out of his game. Like he plays, it's such a soft brand of basketball when it comes to times when it matters.
Vogt, do you though? Because I don't hate Joel Embiid, even though he is like our adversary, just because we're Jokic guys. But I will say, I watch all of this and I nod my head, like yeah, I agree. But also I'm kind of like, oof, these are painful truths.
They are painful. Oh man, Matthew just snuck it in before I could in the chat. You could argue his signature series was losing to Trae Young and the Hawks, but other than that, I was going to say the same thing, Matthew.
Yikes!
No, I mean it is harsh actually, and it is what Philly does, and it is the very small element to. I think he lost it pretty quickly, but if Ben Simmons had any case for high ground or sympathy, it was along those lines. Like Philly turns on you in a heartbeat. I will also say this. Embiid is hardly a sympathetic figure. Like
that's the point.
He did not have to say or anywhere else. How hard is it to say I just want to win a ring? How hard is it to say that?
But even that, like, I keep thinking about this. One of Jokic's true. I do try to like learn things from Jokic. I know that sounds weird, but like you learn things from sports and you try to apply them. One of the things about Jokic that's so impressive is that he's simultaneously the best player in the world and constantly and consistently brilliant, but also somehow always leaves enough space for everyone else to shine.
Right.
And I do think there's something too. You can't blame Embiid for Joel Embiid or for Ben Simmons. You can't blame him for that. But at the same time, I do wonder if like, was it in some ways inevitable that there was only, I mean, that trust the process was a team thing that Joel Embiid nicknamed himself.
That's such a great take. Oh my God.
You know what I
need
mean?
to take a lap.
So I just wonder a little bit of this. Again, I don't want to blame him for Ben Simmons. I don't want this to get twisted. But I do kind of wonder like, oh, and now it's Harden. And I said this all along. It was it was Doc Rivers. And it was always somebody else. And part of me wants to go, maybe there's just not enough oxygen in the room.
Yeah, I think there is something to that. But again, I can't get past the fact that he's never healthy in the playoffs.
Well, that too.
We don't know what he's able to achieve if he's the Joel Embiid we saw midway through the year that like was a monster against Jokic. Like he wasn't that guy when it came down to the playoffs.
I have basketball reasons for that though. Embiid, even in that one, I famously talked about in that game where he scored, 49 points or something, 47, had 6 attempts inside the paint.
Oh, I completely agree.
And just in the playoffs, it's like, you got to do something else, man. These jumpers or whatever, you got to have other ways to be able to impact. And I just feel like in the playoffs, you always get something taken away. Like teams can take something away. But it made me think, more interestingly, what is Jokic's signature playoff series? Because I thought it was a fun exercise.
Yeah.
And then there are lots of candidates. That's what's kind of cool about it, is there's actually multiple. But I'll start with you, Vogt. At the top of your head, what is his signature series when you say Jokic playoff series you think of?
I go right to the Lakers. In this past title run. And
the shots,
which are, sometimes that stuff is going to be what stands the test of time. More so than going through any individual series numbers.
That's exactly. It gets distilled down to just a moment.
By the way, his numbers in that series are effing insane.
Oh, do you mean 28 points, 14 and a half rebounds, 12 assists?
So maybe back
28, 15, and 12?
Where he was utterly dominant. It was the head-to-head matchup. It's the name face value of doing it against the Lakers, LeBron, Anthony Davis. All eyes on that series. He has the moments. He has the shots where you have Anthony Davis shaking his head and laughing because there was nothing he could do. Yeah. And then it's a sweep, It's a sweep. And then there's which we think the players have tapped into a little bit. Every Denver fan will tell you it just means more when it's the Lakers.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's the definitive answer. There are moments in a lot of playoff series. There's the game winner against the Jazz. When he finally got over Rudy Gobert.
The Portland series where he was basically a one-man band.
A lot of that. Yeah, there's a lot of things. But I mean, the thing is, when you think back to this championship run, probably the first image I have is Jokic making that insane shot against Anthony Davis. Like that's the one image I see circulated more often than any other.
I'm with you.
And I think that's going to be the thing that people, because again, yes, like you're saying, in history, as things echo, like the details all fall away. And what are we left with? Like we're going to be left with that image forever. And it was a sweep, as you so astutely pointed out. And it has put the Lakers into a tailspin. It's beautiful.
And on top of that, coming out of that series, it was so definitive who the best player in the world was. Going into it, even though I would argue that the series before actually was when the tide turned on Jokic, it was because he had a great first round. He put up 26, 12, and 9. That's against Rudy Gobert, and Karl Anthony Townsend was the best player. And people were starting to be like, all right, we were too harsh on Jokic, whatever. But then when you go into the next series against Phoenix, listen to the numbers.
This season was a dream. Everyone apologized to us.
But listen to the numbers in the Phoenix series, guys. By the way, the Phoenix series, which we are saying was not the definitive series for him. Not.
I know.
34.5 points a game, 13 rebounds, 10 assists. He averaged.
Okay, it's that one.
averaged a 34-point triple-double. And he shot, listen to the shooting splits on this one, guys. 59.5% from the field, 44.5% from three.
Yeah, he really took it to the Suns.
Wait. It gets better. We have to go game by game on this one, you guys. Like, we have to go through.
Really took it to the
we have to
sides.
go through the game log because the games are absolutely. And this, again, the series we're saying was not it. Game 1, he has 24 points, 19 rebounds, 5 assists, and was a plus 19 in a blowout win. So that was his worst game, 24 and 19.
Terrible.
Let's go to game 2. 39 points, 16 rebounds, 5 assists. They win that one. 39. Game 3, they lost. 30 points, 17 rebounds, 17 assists.
Yeah, that's when Booker.
30, 17, and 17.
That's insane. I mean,
Go to the next game. They lost that one. 53 points. 53.
I forgot, dude.
I forgot that he had 53 in the loss. Then the next game, 23, 13, and 12. He goes 12 of 20 shooting.
53.
And then he had 32, 10, and 12 on 13 of 18 shooting. Every damn game in that series was a masterpiece. Would have been most Hall of Famers' best game ever statistically. And that wasn't his best series in our eyes.
It was also... there's the 2 games in there were 2.5 games where all anyone understandably wants to talk about is Devin Booker, and then the dust settles and who was actually better.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, of course.
I mean, it's not even close.
The team that won.
No, but I'm saying,
no, the player-wise.
Jokic was a significantly better player in a series in which, for 2.5 games, Devin Booker looked like the best player to ever pick up a ball.
The difference was, in that series, Booker touched God, and Jokic was touched by Devin Booker because he is God.
Phrasing, but I think I like.
I gotta wind that before I
touched
get.
Really touched him.
I'm already in shaking around with that Keith plan thing. I think that the thing is that we're not talking about his best series. We're talking about his signature series.
Right.
series.
I
There
think
is a
it's
difference there.
That's a great
because
take.
That's a
he
great
is
take.
just like that was. I mean, statistically, like there was the game where he played like 50 or like 3 hours straight
Right.
against Portland. Like
Yeah.
he's had moments
Yeah.
all throughout, which have been incredible. That series was an absolute masterclass, as you just astutely pointed out. But it just doesn't ring the same in your head because the games weren't that good.
Yeah.
It was either like somebody.
they
Especially
were
the
kinda-
last 2,
yeah.
it was just like, okay, they're dead already.
He's
Like,
clowning him,
He's
yeah.
clowning him. Like, we're not that 53-point game that they lost. Like, that was great. And it was great that it like made everybody. That was the series that where everyone shifted the narrative, and they're like, especially
That was the Phoenix series was where everybody was like,
because that's when Embiid didn't make it out of the second round. So it was like, oh, there's one guy that does this, there's another guy that does that, but then just all eyes on the Lakers series, all of the narratives, all of everything, literal. ESPN analyst who raised 2 hands to say that the Lakers would beat the Nuggets was participating in the series, and Jokic just did things that nobody could. You just couldn't wrap your head around it. It like broke the internet. Like people had to look at themselves like, does he do this all the time? This was like when people like were definitively watching for the first time, all eyes on Jokic, and he was doing things that we are accustomed to, but literally don't make sense to the casual onlooker.
we had the best time ever this year. I
We're
swear
the
to
best,
God, we
dude.
are the best. Jamal Murray, does he have a signature series? I think yes as well.
I think there's an easy one for this.
Really?
Go ahead.
Utah.
It's got to be.
It's got to be Utah. Head to head with Mitchell. And also, by the way, I know Jokic redeems himself and hits that shot and was ultimately amazing that series, but let's not kid ourselves. Game 3, probably the nadir and the Jokic experience. There it is. Take a drink, folks.
The Nate did.
But Jamal was, as you have put it so eloquently in the past, Eric, Michael Jordan in that series.
He will. That's right.
So I think
no. I said better than Michael.
And
Jordan.
by the way, it's the sliding doors 2020 hindsight here of what are we talking about if Jamal Murray doesn't save that series? Like right now.
Yeah, you're right. That's
Right
the
now.
biggest sliding door
It'd be
ever.
a very different timeline probably.
He had 2 50-point games. He had another 40-point game. He shot, and this is, I'm not joking, 55, 53, 92.
LOL.
50, 50, 90 in a series.
was the
Well, I mean, he
That was
on
the most
fire.
dominant Jamal's ever been. Like everything since then has just been like us wanting to get that back to that place.
I kind of feel like he was, though, man, in this year's playoffs.
He was, but it wasn't
needed
that.
to
Like
that way,
he
yeah.
was that duel with Donovan Mitchell was. I mean, that was the best playoff series I think that you'll ever see. I don't think you can have a better playoff series.
Yeah, and I think-
unless you add just the gravity of it being later on, but like just 2 teams just going at it and it coming down to the last shot that
Yeah.
bounced off the back of the rim, unbelievable.
And I think Jamal, What Jamal just did was had a better playoff run than he did in the bubble by a lot. And it's not just because of the ring. Like, if you had to just look at it, he was consistently great in a way he actually wasn't.
And in more ways.
In the bubble. Right. But if you boil it down to just one series, the Utah series is it, man. We will maybe never see anything like that again.
No, dude. It was unbelievable.
The next closest one, though, to me is also the Lakers series. So Murray has 2 50-40-90 playoff series in his career. One was the Utah series, and the other one was the Western Conference Finals this year, where he averaged 32, 6, and 5. And again, Jokic being so transcendent, disguises the fact that Murray was also transcendent, having a 50-40-90 series in the Western Conference Finals while scoring 32.5 points a game.
Dude.
So I think that one is close, and he also had some big time moments in there. But that's Jokic's signature series.
Another sneaky series for Jamal that maybe doesn't stack up to the Utah, but it still was so meaningful to me is that series against the Spurs. The first time that they actually got out of the first round, and it took they got beat down pretty badly in game one, and they were down, and it looked like they were going to go down 2-0 in their own building, and then Jamal went crazy in the fourth quarter. He showed us for the first time, that was the first image of playoff Jamal that we ever had. It was like so heartening and so impressive, and I was like, from that point on, I was like, oh, this guy's got it. He keeps doing it over and over.
Jordan Scott mentions that in the finals he averaged 10 assists a game, which was huge. I will say with Jamal, in games 3 and 4 in particular, Jamal was so ready for the moment. It almost was underwhelming because of how easy he made it look, but it was really difficult in that it showed I have to do things differently. Remember, they were going to force that two-man game. Like, he had to find a way to get it to work, and he did. Not just get it to work, but like dominated with it. My last one for you guys is, what about the Nuggets as a whole? Do they have a signature series in this era?
I'm going to say the finals because
They're so easy.
Yeah, I mean, a part of me, there's a version of this answer, or this question rather, where it's the Lakers series. Yeah. And I think we all understand the weight of it. But then there's the bottom line of none of that matters if they go on and don't win the finals.
Would have sucked.
The first ever finals, NBA finals, and they win in convincing fashion. And despite a little hiccup in game 2, well before the dust settled, everyone really knew who was going to win that series. And so it was a crowning moment. It was a culmination event, and so I think it has to be that because the Nuggets have never won before.
I missed the premise.
Nuggets as a team in the Jokic era. What's
their signature game?
Series, I mean.
Lakers.
I agree.
I think
it's the Lakers.
They swept them.
They swept them, and they broke them, and they broke. With that, right. Like, once the Lakers series was over, it was over. Yeah. Like, this was the same thing that happened.
I think you guys are right.
When I was in Boston. I witnessed the Boston Red Sox come back from down.
That was their signature
3-1.
series.
They beat the Yankees, and then they beat some other team in the World Series.
Who it was.
Doesn't matter. Who cares? I think it was St. Louis. Who cares? Sorry. It was.
I cried. I was a wee child. I cried.
Yeah, but like that, the dam had it was over at that point. It was like, yo, this team is different, and all of the demons have been exorcised, and we don't have to think about this anymore. The Lakers are no longer an unbeatable monolith. Right. They're a team full of old guys, and they can be beaten.
All right, let's take a break. We're going to have a super short final segment, which is the headline topic of the show today, but we have to do it.
Whatever.
Brightest time.
Clickbait, dude.
Crashed my scooter the other day, and I almost called Backus and Schenker, but then I remembered it was entirely my fault. However,
still sue yourself.
In other situations where you get hurt and it's not your fault, Backus and Schenker are there to help. They win for Colorado families. They've been winning for those who have been seriously injured in Colorado for more than 25 years. And the best part is that they do not charge you until they've won for you. No fee to work on your case, no fee to speak with them. There is no fee until they win your case. And they've won cases. They've won over $1 billion for the clients here in the great state of CO. And now they have more locations serving all over the state, including neighborhood offices in Denver, Aurora, Englewood, and Fort Collins. Backus and Schenker has the strength and power to win your case. Call them 222-2222 to find out if you have a case for free. Backus and Schenker, they win.
Yeah, even your crumpled state underneath your little scooter, you could have dialed 2 over and over.
I thought about it, but again, I can't stress this enough. It was entirely It was entirely
Yeah,
my
we know
fault.
that. We know that. You lost your sunglasses the second you entered Disneyland. We see a pattern of behavior here. Anyway, off you go.
I'm a mess, but when I feel like I'm at my best and I feel like I'm doing everything the right way is when I'm placing my bets at Bet365. 80 million users worldwide, live streams 780,000 events each year, proud partner of the Colorado Rockies. You got to download Bet365. It's a great place to place bets on any sport, any event, like your Denver Nuggets, like Summer League, like whatever your basketball fix is. Build a parlay today. Get a parlay bonus of up to 70% on your parlay. It's available across most markets. Must be 21 plus and physically located in Colorado. Please gamble responsibly. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. Bet365. Look, they're here. They're in Colorado. This is one of the premier places to bet and win in the world, and Coloradans can get in on this action now with Bet365. Download it, sign up, place a bet, and win.
Let's go.
Alrighty, let's do an updated hot box and hot takes. Really, the brightest timeline. Now they've got a championship under our belt. I keep thinking this. Now Nuggets have it, man. We got to move the goalpost.
We have to start MJing like. I don't like how that guy looked at me.
Yeah, totally.
We're like, George Carl didn't buy us dinner that one time.
Yeah,
we got
it's so
motivation.
We're going to be finding old slights. We will have no shortage of them. Honestly, everybody offseason. I was just like, oh, thank you, man.
I know, we need
perfect. And then you even do the contenders, and people were like, I don't know. Did they do enough this offseason? It's like, I don't know. They went 10-1 down the stretch.
Never mind. Keep going.
So obviously Dynasty is the next brightest timeline. Now, and you do get to move to this. I think repeat, you want to go one step at a time. We don't skip steps en route to a Dynasty, but you do want to get there. I will say this. I kind of want, in my own sick way, I kind of want the Nuggets to be in position to where people start talking about the worst three-peat of all time.
So easy.
I want the worst three-peat. Are you
three-peat of all
kidding me?
time.
I like, of all the teams that have three-peated, I feel like the Nuggets' three-peat was really more like, I think there were repeats that were better than that three-peat.
The best part is going to be the case is that it's mathematically the lowest aggregate seed total against
please.
but it's only because the Celtics keep blowing it in the conference finals.
And then people start using the combined PER.
Yeah.
They're like bringing in Vorp and stuff to argue against the Nuggets.
Oh, it would be so great.
That's what I'm saying.
The only argument you
That's
have
what I'm
against
saying.
the
They're
Nuggets
gonna
is
go box plus minus on everybody's ass. It's gonna be great, dude.
I just want to get into that spot where it's like, I just don't know. If you combine all the dynasties ever, I just feel like they're last. And it's like, oh, hell yeah, man. This is the best.
Worst dynasty ever.
Like, are the 2008 Celtics, their one title worth more than Denver's three? In some ways, yes.
I just think of the Mount Rushmore players, Jokic is the worst.
Yeah, he's the worst.
He's the fourth best.
Well, we created the golden era. Like, we really believe the NBA is in its golden era. Our era.
Yeah, dude.
Not theirs.
Finally.
It's our era.
Finally.
And I do think that, look, the biggest dub would honestly be for this to be referred to, not just by us and by people watching this and Nuggets fans worldwide, but it actually to be just known as the golden era.
Oh,
yes.
Like, the way we talk about the 90s or we talk about the Showtime era or Magic and Bird, it's like, oh, and then there was the golden era.
Bro, you listen.
What was the golden era?
No,
you mean the
not,
Nuggets
listen, like,
decade?
I told Zach Lowe this. I've told anybody that will listen that we are stealing gold. We are going to make this a thing. Golden era, use it all the time. I want exactly what you're talking about to happen, for it to ring throughout the history of the NBA. We refer to the golden era when the Nuggets came in and they just took over. And we talk about now, they're like, oh yeah, like that was the Warriors, blah, blah, blah. And then you just forget a whole block of time. You're like, that was the Nuggets.
And then we go full coastal mode. We go back in time and we claim the years that Murray was hurt.
Oh, are you kidding?
We already did it.
No. Hold on. First of all, no, we don't. Everyone does.
Everyone.
The way you're talking about Jordan, well, he went and played baseball for 2 years. Like, they probably would have won at least 7, if not 8. Like some people will say 8, and if it's the Nuggets, get credit for that.
Dude,
by everyone else.
First off, can we just say that the brightest timeline that actually transpired outside of the MVP and the championship
Kind of made it sweeter, though.
People started arguing on our behalf.
Oh, yeah, totally.
We spent our whole lives arguing, like, you guys are jerks. And other people are like, yeah, we were jerks. We're like, what? You admitted that you were a jerk? No one ever does that.
So you and I are the original Hot Box and Hot Takers. We started this whole thing.
Keith Clan.
You're the Keith Clan. We're the Keith Clan. No, the Hot Box and Hot Takers.
That's not what it sounds like, Mom. Actually.
But part of the hot box and hot takes is that we've always pushed the goalposts a little bit further so that there's something to chase. I honestly think the furthest, and this one I don't buy happening. A lot of these other ones I do buy, but one of them that we can now utter is it's on the table that Jokic can be the greatest player of all time. It's on the table. And again, at this very moment, that seems so far away, and I know people will want to clip this, and they're going to want to, I can't believe you guys take it too far. I'm not saying it's happened. I'm just saying, at a certain point, that enters the conversation and becomes this.
What are we supposed to do?
It becomes this. And I'm just saying it's on the table that the brightest timeline includes Jokic forever being included in the greatest players of all time list.
One of the top reasons they should not have let the Nuggets win the title this last year is that it happened just in time for Jokic in the stage of his career and his age for this to still be on the table.
Still on the table,
baby. It is
baby.
still on the table, man. This is when the greats start going on their roll. He is certainly on one of the greatest runs of all time, and I think those who watch closely feel like more is to come. Well, the reason why I love this one, and I do think you just framed it well, is that these used to be like maybe he wins an MVP.
Right. Sam's so dumb, though. Back then, like, come on, man. We're pushing it too far. Come on, MVP.
And then even the stuff where like, okay, it's us with Andy Bailey, and we're doing a pod, and we're top 20.
Yeah, all time. That seems a little high.
And these are all cold now. And so, like, no, do I think Jokic will be the best player of all time? No.
I would bet against it.
I would bet against it. But what's left?
Let's just put it on the board. Brightest timeline. It's the brightest timeline.
What's left?
I have another one that's a fun one, and we've uttered this one right after the championship. Jamal Murray becoming the Kobe Bryant. Instead of just Jokic's running mate, he becomes a guy that's like, no, he also could have been the number one guy. Only they don't fight and break up.
I want him to be in a place where people like, you're going to see a lot of Kobe in Jamal's game.
That's what I mean. But this is what I'm saying.
He's not a Kobe. Like, Kobe is a Jamal.
Oh, I see. I see what you're saying. No, but Jamal becoming an icon, to me, is also part of what would make this so dope. If he goes from like, is he the greatest player to never make an all-star team, to like, we were so dumb. Well, this guy's one of the best players. Oh, he's a top 50 player, whatever.
We've already tasted that sweet, sweet nectar.
The Jokic conversation is so definitively over now. Perhaps in a way I've never seen something settled.
Never.
It's just done.
Yeah.
That we can almost set our eyes to like, I don't even care.
Are we Murray? We have to Murray stand now?
Well, no, because it goes back to the duo thing we started talking about this year. That we just talk about
Top
Jokic
duo.
and Murray. It's not even about who was better. It's just Jokic and Murray.
Yeah.
And so I was going to say this. I want Murray to get the next finals MVP. And I know that makes it harder for Jokic, greatest player of all time. All right. But I like this idea
We have
of
to pick our most delicious path.
Yeah. But I love this idea of that it's like you think of the Denver Nuggets, you think of those two guys together right away.
Yeah. I love it. For me personally, though, it is the idea of like Kobe became, he was early on because he played for the Lakers and he had this prestige. Like he became an icon. And like Jokic, everybody knows he's great the same way everybody knows Shaq is great. I just think it would be cool if Murray, he's more able to soak up the iconic portion of superstardom.
Right.
Where like all of a sudden Murray is the guy, like the way Steph Curry is the guy all kids aspire to. I just think it's on the table because Murray has got the 3-point shooting of not quite to a level of a Steph, but he's got the 3-point shooting, which is obviously very attractive. But he's also got the footwork, all the different stuff that it would just be dope if 2-3 years from now, Murray is the guy all the kids want to be.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Especially, by the way, all the kids in Canada, going back like full circle to what we were talking about to start the show. I think that's the thing. Like they just watched a Canadian play like that in the finals. That he can be legendary.
Dude, are we going to be Canadian guys now? Like
we might have to be.
We're already like Serbian nationalists. Like
Dude, we're people of the world, man. MPJ's arc. For me, it's just like I haven't written off MPJ, but MPJ in my mind kind of like I feel like I know what he's going to be. But you know, he did at one point have superstar talent. For me, that would be the brightest timeline. What if MPJ actually does grow into be all of that to where he could be a series MVP at any given moment? And I don't know what best big three we've ever had where all three guys are stars.
Like in the league?
Ever. All time. I'm saying all time. I'm saying there's been like great play like the third wheel, but the third wheel is always Dennis Rodman or, you know, a guy that just does a role. But what if it was just like, no, this series MPJ averaged 30. That one Jokic did. That one Murray did. Like, that's the brightest timeline. If Denver becomes the first actual big three where all three guys could be. the guy depending on what was needed.
So like MPJ has to outshine Chris Bosh by.
Chris Bosh became a role player though. That's the point. He had to go rebound.
Well, yeah, I know.
The third wheel. I'm trying to think of who's the best third wheel on a championship team. It's like Ginobili, who came off the bench and stuff.
Probably Rondo.
No, it's one of the Warriors guys, depending on your perspective.
Except for those guys were still role like Clay got, and you're right. Maybe it is more he's just like Clay, but I don't know, man.
I mean, that's the thing. Some of this is no longer an MPJ question and just the natural division and the limits of that division, right? Of utility and usage in a 5-man game. So it is really hard. Exactly you can't really have 3 superstars. Phoenix is going to try. They'll probably run up against a limit or a wall of some kind.
You're like, hey, it's your turn to shoot now, Beal. Why? I don't know, because you're the third one.
But I do think there's a version of it maybe where he's just more involved in a way that feels less like, oh, it's found money in the pocket, and more like there was a point in the Wolves series where he put 2 games together where the conversation around the league was, holy shit, this is Denver's third option. Yeah. And if we can get that for a month, it's just gonna feel.
Bro, I really feel like unless there is like one of the top 2 take some time off for one reason or another, it's the rainforest and the canopy is up top, and like all the plants down below, they only get so much sunshine, and you can't shine without the sun. So I just don't think that there's enough air for all 3 for him to like get to that place.
You can cue that outro music, Alyssa. The last one I was going to say, but Michael Malone talking about getting that tattoo. Somebody made the joke about him looking like Birdman by the time the Jokic hair is over. It would be dope if he just started getting tattoos and it actually became a thing. It was like he just keeps getting tattoos and they win 7.
Diamond Mike.
He's just got a whole sleeve. Every year is a unique one, and he's
Golden Mike.
At what point, like, you win one title, you're kind of unassailable, right? But when do you become for real unassailable? Like, Pop can say weird stuff. Yeah, Phil Jackson can get sage in a locker room and do dumb stuff because he won so much. It's like, well, I'm not going to question him. With Malone, like, you win like 3. I feel like Malone can just be whatever he wants.
Dude, he turns back into. I'm saying he wants to regress back to his Queens upbringing more than anything. We saw it in the parade. He's gonna start doing every press conference. He's gonna have glasses and that chain on and just be like, forget about it.
He gets 86 from Candlelight. Yeah, dude. We never find the story.
He starts bullying his players and stuff. Like, it's gonna happen.
I can't wait for it. Nuggets' brightest timeline just keeps getting brighter, man. Just keeps getting brighter.
Dude, it's so bright. We need some shady rays.
Also bright, being back with the fellas.
Oh, what a treat.
What a treat,
What a
man.
treat.
What a treat. Back in here, feeling the vibes. Back with you guys. Everybody do us a favor. Hit that like button for us. It's only Tuesday. We got 3 more of these coming up for you.
Do we have a super chat? Do we have super chats? I'll do so quick. I'll go so quick. Cam Buckets, the Nuggets are not going to repeat. What? They're going to 4-peat.
Won't they repeat before they 4-peat?
It doesn't matter.
You know what?
See you guys tomorrow.